like and subscribe.
Now we're about to talk a little bit about icons in the culture. Talk a little bit about Beyonce and Taylor Swift to start this conversation. And I want to kind of contextualize this before we get going here, John.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I wanted to talk about this was it played background to Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
And fair, Kendrick's having a moment in the culture.
Greatest rapper of all time.
Oh, man, I love it. See, this is my type of guy. This is my type of guy. But I think Beyonce recently won the Grammy for Best Country Album. Regardless of how you may feel about her winning that Grammy or about that her album being a country album, I don't really care about that conversation as much as it was a moment that happened at the Grammys with Taylor Swift presenting that award to Beyonce. You're laughing. I'm serious. This is a moment.
I'm thinking
This is a moment. And so when you think about full circle, Kanye West, who we just talked about as being an icon, coming up, grabbing a Mac from Taylor Swift, Beyonce had the greatest record of all time, this iconic moment in popular culture, right? That honestly, in a lot of ways, propelled Taylor Swift to even greater heights because people had her back like crazy. I really do believe that. Regardless, the culture always was trying to pin Beyonce against Taylor Swift in music. And so for Beyonce to come in, win for this country album, Taylor Swift giving her the award, I thought it was a really interesting moment. But it's not just that moment of the image of that, but it's the idea that it even matters so much. Like, it's the idea of, man, the obsession of icons that you literally see grown women crying when they see that moment. You seeing grown dudes, us, talking about this moment. There's just something in the idea of icons and iconic culture that I think is valid and maybe worth a little discussion to think about whether that's healthy or not.
Okay, let me start off saying this. The celebrity icon thing is definitely not healthy, the way we obsess over celebrities. But here's the thing. When we talk about art, music, culture, all of these things, we innately want to connect with art because art is just, you expressing how you feel through different ways, whether it's writing, music, movies, video games, whatever it is you choose to make. And as humans, we're supposed to be interconnected. We're supposed to have friends. We're supposed to have people around us. And you can connect to those experiences or what that person, the harder you connect to an artist, a lot of times is the more they're putting themselves or something into their music or their craft or what they're doing, and also building their brand. An iconic celebrity, an icon in short, is somebody who they have a style, timeless influence, activism. They have their own things that make them stand out. And sometimes we want to be that person. Like how we said, we're image bearers of Christ, icons. Sometimes celebrities reflect things that we want to be and do that we either can't because we don't have the money, we don't have the time. Some of us just, not even gonna lie, some of us just, you ain't it. You don't got the sauce. You just can't do what some of them do. Like, and that's not bad. Everybody not gonna be brawling like LeBron. Everybody ain't gonna be rapping like Kendrick. Everybody ain't gonna be a Martin Scorsese when they pick up the camera. You can be something, but sometimes you won't be that. And it kind of gives you something to aspire and something to try to emulate. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having people you look up to, but I think the obsession over it is the problem. But there are some people like me. I connected heavily with Star Wars and just things like that. And I feel different ways about how it's been handled now. But, you connect with it because of the human element that you see. Like, you see the story of the characters, how they're overcoming it, and you plug it into your own life. So I think we can't necessarily help that we care or we look up to people. Because if you're not looking up to a Beyonce, a Jay-Z, or Taylor Swift or something, more likely there's somebody in your life you're looking up to. You're looking up to, that one OG at your job who been there for X amount of years, who does a great job and always got something positive to say. Looking up to a pastor, you're looking up to a family member, a friend in your life who you see who just stayed the course and just never gave up. So there's always somebody we're going to look up to and just, I want to be that guy. I
Yeah.
want their example. And celebrities, they're just sometimes we just see them a lot
Yeah.
and they're pushed on us a lot. And that's why I feel that way. Sometimes it can be unhealthy because you don't know these people and they don't know you. So the connection is limited. I think that's why Beyonce and Taylor Swift sell concerts out the way they do, is because people want just to be in the room, to absorb the energy, to breathe the same air, to feel the same.
But it's interesting, the obsessive nature over it because of those connections, the music that we connect to, the art that we connect to. And it's the removal of the humanness. Or I would say this, we enjoy celebrities that give us just enough humanness for us to make deeper connection.
Yeah.
So, I want to know that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are a nice couple, are doing well, or even when they have like a little bit of an argument or breakup, because that's human that I connect to. What I don't want is to know your deepest, darkest secrets. What I don't want is to actually see the depth of your humanity in a way that's very vulnerable and hard, because honestly, we don't even want to look at ourselves in that way.
Yeah.
This is what, again, it makes the gospel so hard sometimes, is because the gospel forces us to actually look very deeply and honestly about sin in our nature. And it's because Jesus wants to redeem all of that.
Yeah.
I think it's much easier to have a lot of surface level relationships with people, yet alone with God, than it is for people to really know us. And because it's vulnerable, it's very vulnerable. It's this idea, man, if I give my heart away, there's a risk there.
Yeah.
Right? If I give too much of myself away, people are going to lose respect for me. People aren't. And I think there's honestly some cultural truth to that. Right? That idea that if we give too much of ourselves, that people are going to judge and disconnect.
Yeah, that's actually a truthful thing. Some people do kind of take that. Like I remember, somebody told me this. I ain't gonna say who that, but before I married my wife, somebody had told me, family member, that girl, don't text her too much and all the time. Don't, because you don't want to come off like you're giving too much of yourself and she's not giving anything to you. Like, don't, she didn't text me back. Let me send 17 more messages till I eventually hear something. Because then you start sometime looking like, hey, I'm giving too much of myself away and I'm not getting any of this person. And then not just with that, just with friendships, you don't want to feel like I'm always initiating the hangout. I'm always texting and it feels one-sided. So you feel like you're investing in something that you're not getting returns on. Like, would you really take like $1,000 every month and then put it into this saving, to put it into some kind of stock, and the person just clearly every time you come there and be like, am I making an investment? Oh yeah. Would you really want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's super interesting, man. I see things as unhealthy because I think it's in the limited nature of us seeing the art and us seeing the life of a person that we make some really big assumptions, our connections to that person and reflection, and it becomes worship, right? It becomes worship. The root word of celebrity it's Latin, right? I think it's celebritas.
Yeah, I was just about to say celebrators.
Yeah, and it just means to be famous, to be worthy of celebration, right? Like to be made famous. I think there's such a cautionary tale to that, because I'll put it this way. When it comes to celebrity culture, it is okay to have people that inspire us and that we can even look at to be aspiring towards. But when I think about icons and idols, there's a fine line between worship and inspiration.
Yeah, that is there. It can easily become worship if it's not careful. Because one person I'm definitely seeing that with is Kanye. Because I'm a gigantic Kanye fan. Well, now me and Kanye kind of akin to me in Star Wars right now. Like, hey, the old stuff cool. This new stuff,
I miss the old Kanye.
I'm tuned out of it. And when I say with me, like Kanye is interesting to me because I've been following him for years, and I feel like at some point he was reflecting where I was at different points in life. like the college dropout, the late registration and that. And then around the time you start, going back to church and coming into God, I was already back in that point. So I'm like, oh, Kanye's going in the God direction. He's saying which we know what he said. He said a few things I've agreed with heavily, and he said things I have not agreed with. But it's like now, I don't know nothing he does feel genuine anymore. And I still see people defending him, riding with him, saying he did this. And I'm like, look, if you care about your heroes or whatever, you would want to hold them to some kind of standard or accountability. And if you start getting to a point where you don't hold people to standards and to accountability just because they make great art, great shoes, great whatever, then that starts becoming worship, where you just start getting over-absorbed into them.
Right.
And that goes for Beyonce, because, I see a lot of Beyonce fans just going so hard, unnecessarily even. They're just being racist or hating because she made a country. I'm like, first of all, they can feel how they want to feel. And next, I know it's going to make probably some people unhappy. Beyonce's album is a country album. And before people say it's not country, I'm like, artists switch sounds and switch genres all the time. Like Prince. If Prince was still alive today, Prince would have made a trap album probably. We probably would have heard Prince on the album.
A Prince trap album would have been fire.
Could you imagine Prince alive today rapping like Playboy Cardi?
Hey, yeah.
Like, I would have heard. I'd look at the first day. Yeah, so I'm like, Beyonce, the album is a country album. Artists just switch all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I don't know why that there's such well, I kind of do.
Well, it's interesting that you say that.
I kind of get the gatekeeping argument, kind of, because when that's a topic I will do in a previous episode. I kind of understand gatekeeping, being someone who's like really into like a lot of different like fandoms, like sci-fi and stuff. I get the gatekeeping argument.
Yeah,
I really do actually get it.
I would argue, what are the qualifications of a music icon is that it's about lasting influence and legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's about cultural impact, right? Do they impact the culture? And then I would argue, in terms of their music, is there evidence of success, right? I think a real musical icon, consistently at the top in album sales, consistently selling out stadiums, consistently is someone that still is doing those things to this day. People are still listening to their music. So it's I would say, again, it's legacy and influence, general cultural impact, and then I would argue that their music is still timeless.
Okay.
What would you say? How would you define a music icon?
That's actually how I would define it myself.